There, Brent from Brent's Runabout. Big announcement, new training goal, 100-mile training plan starting today. No particular race in mind, but want to start training towards it nonetheless because after I started mapping it out, I realized that the training plan itself is going to be about 25 weeks, which is about 6.25 months. And then the plan, well, kind of take a step back. Talk about that part of the plan. I went online, I did some research because I mainly want to see how others did the building for the long runs and then also just the weekly totals for especially the later weeks. Because I knew if I was doing kind of a linear build, and what you really shouldn't do, you should really, have 2 week breaks or build, stay at the distance for 2 weeks or have a rest week in there and then build again. I knew even doing that, like those later weeks would just be some insane mileage for your weekly totals, which I knew just would be unrealistic. So what I was finding was some of the other plans, some of the other coaches were doing a 3 to 5 weeks at the same distance or the same weekly total for each of those 3 to 5 weeks, and then build or rest week and then build kind of thing. So that's what I did. I kind of took some ideas I was finding there and used my own knowledge from my USGA running coach certification and built out my own plan. But then I took it a step further and I went and I built out 34 weeks ahead of that plan, which is about 8.5 months, just leading up to the 25 weeks, which will be the actual building towards the 100-mile race. And by race, again, there's no particular race in mind. It's just, I want to do this. I'm excited about it. It's something that's been on my mind, kind of like the 3-hour marathon. It's just like, you know what? This makes sense. It's something, and I was going to talk about this a little later, that I keep coming back to and I keep wanting to do. So I'm like, why not? Let's do this. So really, those 34 weeks are to help build up my base again. Sorry, I've got some notes here. I'm kind of at least wanting to hit on some main bullet points. Because I've kind of been out of, I've had some stops with the 3-hour marathon this past year, my 35-mile birthday run, neither of which happened. And with the 3-hour marathon, I would get overzealous and just kind of like push it on an off day or two off days I can think of in particular. They're just like, it left me injured, nothing major. It's just these lingering things. The Achilles thing is still some weird tightness even now. Anywho, and then, I did a quick pivot on that 35-mile birthday run, and I knew it was going to be a quick build-up, and I knew something I've done before. The big difference was when I did those quick turnarounds or quick build-ups, I was coming off a big race. Like I remember for one birthday run, it was I was coming off my 75K race, and then I was like, well, a few months later, going to go run, I think it was like 33 miles or something like that. It wasn't too much based on where I was that year to come back and then train back up for it. Anywho, so now I just want to take super elongated approach to this and really stick to my own training and what I would do with my, approach I would take with any client, and, start small, start slow. And really what I did to start was I built out a high level training plan. So I mapped out the long run and the medium distance run for the week, and then my weekly totals. And I did that for basically everything up through, which would be 60 weeks for this entire training plan. And it was just like, because I started looking back to my own watch data to figure out, like, what am I actually doing running wise nowadays? I know I'm not going out that much. I found I was, any given week, I was doing anywhere from 3 to 6 miles. Now that doesn't include walks, hiking, bike rides, and once I factored all that in, I was doing like 18 miles a week, which, okay, cool, that's great. That's actually a really good distance. It lets me know at least I'm, to me, somewhat conditioned and ready to go, working out wise. Not quite having to start back at square one, but I've more or less started myself back at square one for running because I just haven't been doing it as much as consistently. And part of that was just on purpose. I just wanted to have time where I was just like, what do I feel like doing today? I'm going to go out and do that, which whether it was go run, go bike ride, go longboard, walk, don't do anything, do some resistance training, which I was at least trying to do resistance training once a week, maybe more. Um, um, um. Anywho, getting back to this, it really, for my like first weekly goal, like today is the first day, it's a rest day, and then I do a run, a rest day, which I think I factored in like cross training, so longboarding, run, resistance training, and then long run, and then medium distance. And my week's gonna be a little different just based on our work week, so I won't get into those details. Maybe as a separate video, I'll pull up my training plan. We can walk through that. If there's interest, let me know below. Anywho, my first total weeks or weekly mileage is 6 miles. Not a lot. My first run's a mile. And I know I just went out the other day and did longer than that in my run. But again, I'm going to stick to this. I'm going to stick to this for the first week at least and just see, okay, now that's, 4 days a week. It's more of a consistent pattern. How am I feeling? And so every week I'm going to do that and just assess. And this is what I would do with a client anyways, is just assess, how am I feeling? How's it going? And the building is all built on the golden rule of 10%, which based on my certification training, and you can do some research yourself, there's that 10% rule is not based on anything. You can't go back in history and say, oh, it points to this date. Anyways, that's another story. It really comes down to you. It comes down to you personally, what your body will allow you to do building wise. So if 10% is kind of a great starting point, but it might be less. There might be some weeks where it might not be any building. You might even have to take a step back. Or you could jump up 20 or 30%. There's case studies out there on that as well. But again, it comes back to you, in this case, me, how I'm doing or how you're doing. And going from there with, okay, that was maybe a very easy week. Maybe let's do it again, just to double, or let's continue with that building. And I might continue with what I've currently got prescribed for week 2 and just see on week 3, do I need to up it more or just keep that same trajectory that I had already built out for myself. And that goes for long runs as well. That's really kind of a good way to approach building in general is, you're building your weekly and your long runs consistently. And again, giving yourself at least, if you've built up a week, give your time for 2 weeks at that particular distance and then rest, and then where you can build again. Again, it comes down to what's your goal, what you're working towards. Anywho, back to the goal at hand. Again, it's really just for me getting back into consistency and then just building up a really good base. It's something I think I just took for granted especially when we were living in Australia. I was living in the Dandenong Ranges, which is quite hilly, borderline mountainous. I mean, Mount Dandenong is technically there. And our, go-to 4 mile and 6 mile runs would have about 1,000 feet or, well, if we were doing a 6 mile loop, it was over 1,200 feet of elevation change, which that was a rude awakening when we moved out there. But then after a while, that just became the norm. And get used to it, and it just takes some time. So now it's like, okay, I just need to take some further time back. I don't have that. I've got some hills in the area that I can go do some hill training on. But if I'm going to do obviously more serious training, I'll get out on the long days and go out to a park or something like that has some more serious mountains. But again, I really just want to build up that good base again. I talked about the start stops with the other goals this year. The marathon, 3-hour marathon, that one, I definitely had more of a plan built in place for that. And I think where it kind of comes back to with this goal and why am I not going forward with the 3-hour marathon at this point is my wife and I have both been doing a lot of, just self-work. And if you've not heard of human design, I highly recommend going out and checking it out. You do an internet search or you go out to mybodygraph.com, get your body chart. And it's like this combination of all these different personality things. It even includes like astrology and all this other stuff. And I can't even list the name of, it sounds very much like, especially when you're putting your info, you put in name, birthday, where you were born, what time, and maybe one other thing, that might be it. And it tells you here's you, here's your personality, here's how you were designed consciously and subconsciously. And I'm sure there's people just yeah, right, whatever. I was that person too, but seriously, go try it out. It was stunningly accurate. It explained a lot of what I already knew about myself, but it was more oh, that's why I do things that way. It also made me realize that I wasn't honoring the way I personally would like to work. And I could definitely see where in years past, I was just doing things that just didn't resonate. My energy was being kind of used in other things to help other people's goals when I'm realistically like, it's not an ego thing. It's just like I can do multiple things at once. I can throw a lot of energy at those multiple things. But if I'm not in something, then like my energy is just going to go right down. But if my energy's in it, I can not only bring myself up, but I can help other people out. And you can tell because I'm getting more excited the more I'm talking about this. Anywho, the 100 mile goal, I've been sitting on it actually the last couple of days. I wrote this plan actually probably 3 or 4 days ago. And it's not till day one. I was like, all right, I'll do the video day one. If I'm actually going to commit to this. And like every morning, every day, I'm just like, yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. Like 3 hour marathon, it didn't really resonate with me. And like for my type, I really have to tune into my gut. Like, what's my gut saying? And the more I've kind of been doing that, the more I realize like it's like an immediate response or it's like a nothing. And if it's that immediate response, which is what this 100 miler is telling me, then yes, do it. And I wasn't quite getting that with the 3 hour marathon. So it's like, that's still a goal, that 3 hour marathon, but not right now. So I figured, hey, train for 100 miler. Gonna be in excellent shape to come back and then, after some time off, train speed, focus more on speed because I've got an insane base hopefully at that point. You know, even if things, I don't want to say anything, but I want it to pan out. This will pan out. It's going to pan out. And who knows? Maybe throw a marathon, a road marathon in there in the training. Just it's one of those things. I didn't want to put a race around it because I just wanted to see where this goes. I just want to plan it out, start doing it, start working towards it, and just take it week by week, basically. And then just like I would with a client. Right now, I've got 4 weeks because what I did is I did 3 weeks of kind of just building or build up, and then 2 weeks of the same distance. I forget exactly my plan. And then the 4th week is a rest week. It just brings the mileage back down. And then coming into week 5, it'll just be building on that week 3, which was the last building week or last week before the rest week. So anywho, back to this. Just really, again, we'll see how it goes. I'll do weekly check-ins. Hopefully more of these little blog type videos, maybe a correlating write-up as well. Like I said, let me know below if you're interested in hearing more on this, more on that, or anything in particular. And we'll go from there. Enjoy, and happy running.